Okay, so number 2, after having our STEAM Expo, and this is where you're going to be our expert, what can we do to go above and beyond this year? Having Project Lead the Way as part of our curriculum, what can we do to provide our staff to help prepare them? What do we need to know, and what is expected from us as a building? I know that we've had the people that went and did the training, and those people will then bring that to us, but what do we need? What do they need to know? What do we need to know as a building, and what can we provide as far as professional development? Or is that what you guys are going to do?
Yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, our STEAM initiative, we have to have our own independent mission, what we want for our students. So our mission may or may not always coincide with Project Lead the Way mission. We're just using them as the vessel to get STEM-based curriculum into our school. So one of the obstacles we faced last year within our first STEAM Expo is that teachers really didn't grasp the idea of what STEAM education was. And so that caused a lot of frustration and perhaps anxiety. Project Lead the Way is a STEM-based curriculum K through 12. We're going to be implementing it K through 3. They have their own professional development. That's going to come through the launch lead teachers, which will be Allison, Linda Locke, and I. That's where we come in. We've been trained on what the modules are, the pathways of Project Lead the Way, and so on and so forth. That training is going to come directly from us to our staff. Project Lead the Way no longer comes in and trains the entire staff, which I think is a good thing because that allows us to focus on what we want for our building and what's going to work and what's not going to work in regards of training our teachers. We know where to stand, pick up and go off. So that professional development is going to be different than the other type of professional development that we would want to pursue independently as a staff. Okay. So Project Lead the Way PDs will be kind of mandatory. They're required. You can't access the curriculum unless you get this type of PD. And that PD is going to happen in 3 phases. It's going to happen through your launch lead teacher, it'll happen through grade level, and then it'll happen on ongoing training, which will be online. That's Project Lead the Way.
So it's broken up for us.
Yes. The first 2, you'll get support, lead teacher support. The other will require teachers to basically be able to navigate the site, the Project Lead the Way site and the curriculum, and be able to access their own ongoing training videos.
Okay, so basically all of the PE for that will come from the 4 of you guys.
Yes.
What can we do to help? I mean, probably nothing because you're the experts, I'm not.
Well, one of the things that we did say is that all the training is intense, so it's not going to be something that people are going to be so receptive to receiving. Okay. That I can tell you. It involves simultaneous learning of the iPad, the computer, the site, and then accessing and going through the curriculum. Okay. Every grade level has its own specific modules. So part of the process will require us to do grade level training specific to each grade level where we have to master the modules. And so it would be nice to have support from the special area teachers in regards to knowing at least what the modules are, so that there could be some type of integration. Because we have a STEAM initiative and not a STEM initiative, we want to incorporate the arts. And
sure.
So with Eric and Linda, we need to infuse that into what we're doing.
And she's one of our experts.
She's one of our experts. She's phenomenal. And so, again, Project Lead the Way is a STEM-based curriculum. We need to be innovative and creative and bring in the arts. That's where we have to, as a staff, come up with our own ideas, be creative, and then Eric's amazing too, so I'm sure he'll be able to do it. And Scott, you're not bad, you're okay, so I'm sure you can build us another lemonade stand or something.
I thought it was go-karts.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about go-karts later.
Oh,
But, yeah.
excellent.
So
Good.
that's where we'll need you guys. And then, of course, to keep morale up, we're going to need you guys to, like, hey, this is so cool.
Yeah.
So,
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, I just think that also, in that first, we'll say we'll consider like 3 phases, but in that first phase, when initially they're getting the training and you finally, because you can't even access the curriculum yet unless you go through the training. And so once you do though, and looking at the modules and stuff like that, even though, yeah, it looks pretty intense and stuff, but it's so like detailed and thorough that you can't help but like really love it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like the projects, everything though, I mean, once you, I know like we dad spent some time too, like printing everything out and creating binders for each grade level. So each PLC leader will receive a binder with all the modules inside it. And they're so detailed and they give you step by step of everything you need to do. And I really think that once teachers look at that and see that, it's a guide that tells you step by step what you need and what to do and what supplies. We're also getting the kits delivered.
We just ordered them.
Yep, we just ordered them, so we're going to get the kits. So we'll have all the resources that we need to create the projects and stuff. So, like, I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be really good.
Good. So the initial PD that the four of you do, is that like an all-day thing? Or is that like one of our first days? Or how will you have the time to do it?
Okay.
Yeah, because for example, we each in our own building, we have our own building PD. And if I'm correct, the first one will be in October. October 16. So it'll be a half day for students.
Okay.
So that afternoon is our first
Got it.
Yep,
Okay.
training.
And then, go ahead.
for the PD because we'll all begin. It'll be a school-wide kickoff.
It'll be a
November, right? November we'll
Well,
begin.
kickoff is the implementation.
Yes.
But after the October 16th training, we have October 29th where we're training first grade independently of everybody so that we don't have to distract anyone with someone else's module. The less the better. Then we're training second grade, third grade, and then kindergarten. Since we're kindergarten leads, there's 3 of us there, we are going to do that independently when everyone else is training for MEP and NWEA.
Makes
Since
sense.
we're kind
So
of
can you
irrelevant
do
in that.
this like during PLC time? Is that the plan? Or
No. No. PLC.
Special area classes?
This is where you come in.
That's where we come in.
The training that we are, in order to access the curriculum, is going to happen in an whole group setting inside the computer lab because they have to access the site, create their accounts and
Right.
things like that. We've already went through Project Lead the Way in terms of doing the back work, the behind the scenes work to do that. We have to be there for that just to make sure that everyone does everything right because not everyone is computer or tech savvy.
Right.
You guys will probably come into play later because I have a feeling that this is just tentative. What we decided is that we'll do the half day, full day trainings. The grade level trainings are full day.
Okay, so they'll get subs then.
They will
Okay,
get subs.
that's what I was trying to figure
They will
out.
have to.
Okay.
It's a full day training. And then we launch directly after that. So they get their training. We launch 1 module this year out of the 4 in the first card marking. The second card marking, we launch the second module. Both modules will be engineering modules.
Okay.
You guys will come in later, I'm sure, in regards to when they need more support.
Okay, but timing wise, it's essentially built in and then there'll be subs for the time that's not built in.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, some of this that you're going to be doing needs to be put in the weekly newsletter, so support staff is aware that all first grade teachers are going to be doing this PD, because you have subs that need to be coached in how to get their kids to other areas of the school and to get their kids to lunch on time and make sure we have the cards and that they need to go to music. There should be more information in the Monday newsletter that Sue puts up.
Do you have access to the Steamboater?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Usually I know she tries to put everything on there, but I know what you're saying. Weekly you might need a reminder because usually it goes in the newsletter.
Or a calendar.
We could do a
Yeah.
PD calendar.
Yeah, that would be great, just so I can look on it and say, oh, kindergarten's only half day today. First grade teachers will be out on this day. It just helps us to do things ahead of time with those subs and with the students.
We could do that. We'll create a calendar anyway so that they know when to start implementing the launch. So once we do it, they have about 6 to 8 weeks to do it.
And I'll know to have little cups and plates and spoons and whatever else is needed for the projects.
You got it.
That's,
Fair enough. Okay, so looking at last year's SIP plan, and now we have a new expert, I think, maybe. Where did we end up as a building, and where do we need to begin this year? And then what areas do we need to focus on? And I would assume that language and literacy are two huge things, especially the language, but yes, no? I mean, what do you guys know?
No, actually. Okay, so I'll just take this if you guys don't mind, because I had to do the SIP this
Well,
summer.
I know Eric's not taking it.
Well, okay, so I had to review the SIP this summer for one of my admin courses, and our SIP shows a deficiency predominantly in math.
Yeah.
Yes, our deficiency is in math. Yes, we have a language deficiency. However, that really is due just because of the influx of new students that we get. Predominantly, what our data has shown is that after a year or two, these kids are pretty much picking up everything and anything. They may not be the greatest of writers, but that's not the area where they're lacking so much. I think we put a lot of emphasis in our school on reading and writing because
Yeah.
we've assumed, and for good reasons, that they need language and reading and writing, which obviously the MEP scores revolve around that. And so we have been pushing for more of that, and I think in doing so, we've neglected a little bit of the math. And we've also put science and social studies on the back burner. And so what we're finding in this and analyzing data from our feeder school to the other Salina is that the other Salina, where our students are going, has the lowest science and social studies scores in the district. So when you think about that, we have to assume some type of responsibility over that because we're shipping them off to that school. So although those are the scores in that building, we can, at the end of the day, assume that we've neglected the science and social studies department, hence the push for the STEAM initiative. And the SIP plan, I'm hoping, after this year's instruction, which is going to foster a lot of mathematics through science and engineering and technology, that I'm looking to see within the next 2-3 years an increase in math, reading and writing, because this promotes a lot of vocabulary and oral language, and eventually also analyzing the data at the other Salina and seeing if there's a growth within our students in regards to that.
I have third grade students that are still having problems with pennies 1 cent,
Yes.
nickel 5 cents. They want a cookie, but they have they hand me their handful of pennies and nickels because they don't really know how to count that out to 25 cents. I can understand kindergarten and first grade, but just basic money,
And I think
coins are a problem.
I think, Debbie, too, this is where also the specialist teachers can come in. I really do think that we do need to implement, and I know we had this last year, but we need a consistent school store, a student-run school store, something that the students are running. And it's not just the school store, but for example, when Scott built the lemonade stand last year and students were selling, they had to deal with the money. They had to count. And so we need to provide them with opportunities,
Yes.
whatever they are,
But-
to actually
right, because
go through
Scott
the
and Eric
experience.
handled the
Yep.
money.
And we did start that last
Yes.
year too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I'm very patient with them. I tell them what they have, and I help them count it out. I mean, sometimes it takes me a long time when you have a Ziploc bag of pennies and nickels,
Yeah.
but I try to be very patient with them. For that half hour, I do a lot of math with them. But,
So we did last year begin the
Yes.
school store,
yes,
where the third graders
Yeah.
did run it.
yes.
And it was open in the morning. So and I think a good thing that what we're really good about, like as a whole team, is looking like areas that are concerned for us and doing something about it. So
Oh,
we knew
yes,
about
I
the math
agree.
initiative.
Yes.
So we knew that. So we already took initiative as of last year. At the end of the year, we got that. We used those last couple PDs that we got, and each grade level got specific math training. We also got a lot of new math materials. We started doing math workshops. My dad was the math leader last year, and there was a lot of new stuff that we are going to implement and try to change too, to help raise those like math scores and be better at that. So, and I know the PD that we had towards the end of the year, I think her name was Shannon that
Shannon
came in.
Samolsky.
Yep, she did an awesome job with us. Like, and she, Sue had it where it was each grade level on their own, and she just kindergarten straight up just math for kindergarten. Different ways and what we really need to focus on, and what that really means for them to have understand a better concept of what numerals are. So,
Yeah, it's coming along.
yeah,
Yep.
so we're on the right path.
Shifting gears a lot. The indoor recess in the winter, obviously, and then, excuse me, the recess before lunch. Wasn't the first year for the indoor recess, obviously, but it's a debacle, as you're all aware.
Yeah.
But the recess before lunch was the first year.
It's
So
excellent.
okay, I'm like, what do you guys think about it, and then what can we do
That
to make
is the best
recess
thing
better?
we've ever implemented
We all love it.
at this school. They
You
eat.
do all of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
They eat much better.
Yeah.
They're more controlled in the line. They are ready to eat when they come in from recess or they come out of the gym during the winter. They sit better in the cafeteria. They listen better in the cafeteria. And they're not roughhousing with each other.
know
I mean, was one grade we had problems with all year long, but
About what happened this year, too.
overall, they're eating better food, they're making better choices during lunch.
This program is for me. Like, I was the little kid where I'd be like,
Yeah.
just waiting until I could go
What?
outside.
Yeah.
Well,
What?
Yes,
I'm just the
exactly.
old guy now that still does that.
Yeah.
But, that, yeah.
Me
So
too.
when we switched that, I wondered what anyone else thought, because I know for
Oh,
me,
much
It
I know
makes
for
sense.
kindergarten, it's so nice because we usually had to do a downtime right after they came in to settle them down to put them to nap. Well, now they go outside for recess. Then they actually go eat their lunch. We used to pick them up, remember, from lunch, and they would come in from lunch and say, "I'm hungry." And it was like, "How are you hungry? You just came from lunch." So now we've eliminated that. They go outside, they run and play, then go eat their full lunch. And we've had a lot of diabetic cases this year, so it's actually helped in that regard. So they can eat their lunch. It's a full meal. They come in, and that downtime that we used to need, we don't necessarily need anymore. It's just they're tired. They actually want to
Yeah.
rest up for a little bit. It works.
Yeah.
Good.
They're not rushing to finish their food because from before that's what they were doing, so
Yeah,
they can go
right.
outside to play.
yeah, that was me.
Now they already got
I
that out.
just
They got
wouldn't
that
eat.
energy out. Then it's time to eat, And it eliminated a lot of when they would come back, we'd have all this. He did this to me. He did that to me. So the time when they get to play outside, they come back. By the time they get to class,
They're
it's
done
already
with
That's
it,
settled.
taken
and
care
they're
of, right.
like,
Taken
and
care of.
they're nicer in line.
That's it. So we definitely love. It's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Good.
I'm
Better
so glad
when
we
they come back to
implemented
like our class too, I think.
Now,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Because they've had that time to
Yep.
rest. They're not right back and they're sweating and they're
Yeah.
they're a little bit more subdued.
we need to do something about the winter time though.
Terrible.
There
The
need-
indoor recess, yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
we need some, when they have music and they're dancing and running around, they seem to be better than when they have to sit and watch a movie.
Well, that's what we talked about.
We
They
talked
shouldn't
about
be
it.
Those
I
movies are not what they
No.
need right before lunch because whatever's going on in that movie when they're sitting next to each other continues in the line. And it takes them longer to get through the line because they haven't had any exercise.
Well, part of the whole recess thing, and last year when we implemented the Building Healthy Communities grant, where they came in and required students to exercise about 60 minutes a day, I think, honestly, I'll be blatant and say this, it was a total contradiction. You send them into the gym, you told them sit down and watch a movie. I think one of the things that we as kindergarten really stress is that our students cannot do that because when they do have indoor recess, it is a very different issue for us to deal with than it is when they go outside. It is chaos, it's drama, it's tears, it's fighting, it's endless.
And they could go outside more often than they do. There are people that just do not want to go outside and watch the kids, even though that is their job.
Well, I think, too, one of the things we need to push for is, number one, meeting what we wanted to meet, which is 60 minutes of exercise for these kids every day. And if you're
Yes.
knocking off the only minutes that they have during recess, well,
Yes.
you're now saying you have to factor that time in outside of that time, which is a total waste. 2, we need to have better leadership in that regard. In terms of the gym, the recess time in the gym, we need to have someone who's willing to go in and exercise and do the things with them. So I mean better leadership in that regard. So whoever is going to lead that needs to be able and needs to be willing to do it.
The parents are also have problems with their girls going outside in the cold. And I think that the parents need to, cold at 40 degrees, 45, which I think is really refreshing and a nice time to be outside to run and play and breathe in some unstale air that's in the building. But the parents need to be educated too on why their kids are outside playing when they think it's too cold.
Yeah,
You know what,
absolutely.
maybe we can, maybe that's the place to start.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
I'll talk
agree.
to Sue, and I mean, because clearly it was her idea to do the lunch first, or the
Recess
first.
yes.
Which was a success.
Yes.
And I think if we sat down and talked to her, she would agree that the indoor recess is not a success. So maybe if we start when she has those parent meetings and say, here's what we're going to, and tell them in September and October.
Yes.
Here's what we're going to do. It's going to be cold, and when your kids get here in the morning, they're going to be outside to play before lineup. And at lunch,
Yes, I wish they would
you
go
know, they're
outside
going to be
before
at-
breakfast.
So that alone would get us, between those two, for half the kids, they'd
That would
be
be
at
a
60
half hour
minutes.
at least.
Well, for the kids to get here an hour early, you know, they'd
Yeah,
get a
you'd
ton.
get that 60 minutes out of them. But also, you could, losing my train of thought, but part of the whole thing is we have district guidelines, number one, and I
Yeah.
think those need to be
implemented
implemented and
constantly.
sent down to the parents, where it's like,
Constantly.
listen, considering, all
Consistent
that your,
basis.
your concerns, we have a district guideline that we
Yes.
do have to go by.
Adhere to.
And so here it is, at this temperature, it's 43 degrees or whatever, we have to be outside. If you're worried about your child in that, then double up their coats or
If
jackets
they
or
are
so on and so
sick,
forth. Don't bring them to school.
Don't bring them to school. If they cannot go outside to play, then they should not be in school giving other kids their germs.
But I think too, that's where the parents need to understand. If there isn't, it's like kind of a student, right? If you give them the option, they're going to do what they want to do. But at the same time, we want to do what's best for the kids. And that is, we do need them running outside. And it's 10 minutes out of the day, if you really think about it.
Yes, it is.
It is 10 minutes.
Yes.
So 10 minutes, by the time they get their coats and stuff outside, you're talking about 8 minutes. I would just lay down the law, like this is the stipulation when it comes to the district. This is what we have to do. And this is what we have to abide by. And
To be outside in the cold for 8 minutes,
you'll be okay.
run, swing on the swings, jump up and down. Maybe we need to have a giant snow day one week when it snows and we have a lot of snow to build snowmen. What the diameter of the ball is.
Totally agree.
That would be a big math session there.
And I'll talk to Sue and see if when she starts those meetings, we can at least put that in there. Because if we start telling them in September and October, they're not going to be as shocked come January.
Yes, and they should be outside in the morning before they come to school, playing.
I know we agree on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I know we agree on that. Okay, kind of back to what we had spoken about before. At the beginning of the year PLC meetings, what can we do to help all grade level teams be successful? And I think maybe we've touched on that now from all the Project Lead the Way stuff. So you guys essentially answered that question earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 6 and 7 sort of go to the overall goals that we talked about in the very beginning. Professional development is critical for everyone's success throughout our building. What can we do to provide the best, most relevant, meaningful professional development for all staff members? What ideas can you provide? And again, you guys are already going to literally provide some. And answering for myself, and we had talked about this before we started recording, I don't like professional development because it never applies to me. You know, being a special area, being the gym teacher, I sit here and I stare at someone telling me how to teach a kid to read and write.
Yeah.
You know, and so professional development to me drives me out of my mind because it's never relevant. Now, if we have something that's related to phys ed, like I teach the lifeguarding, I teach the CPR, that stuff's relevant. It actually means something to me I have no problem with it because I get something out of it. But, you know, if I had to go sit through a music PD, I'd sit there the entire time wondering what in the world I was doing,
Right.
which is exactly what happens when I have to go sit through a Marzano training. It means nothing to me. So I have a really, that's why anytime there's a meeting, I try to find the nearest exit because it doesn't matter to
Do
me.
you have music PDs?
We have them once a month still, or not once a month. Same time you do.
A couple times a
A
year.
couple times a year. We
A couple
have them.
times a year,
Yeah.
okay.
And so those are
Those are
good.
fine.
Yeah.
See,
And we have
we have
two at the beginning of the
our
year
own.
too.
Yeah.
We have our own. We have, well, we have to take a test every year to be in the kitchen. But we also would have a PD on sanitation,
Okay.
raw foods that need to be cooked. The dairy industry will give us a PD. So
So
we
things that are
have our
relevant.
things that are relevant, things that have changed in the industry. And so you don't have that, I take it?
Right.
or
No,
just
basically
twice
what
a
we have
year?
is we'll have the Veterans Day or Election Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a departmental
Right.
one. So whatever Election Day is,
Yeah.
it'll be a phys ed one or a music one.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a couple days like that, but you know, my problem is always like, I actually like these two. So I'll sit in there training and wondering what is happening. And this actually,
Okay.
this will actually pertain to me. But usually I'll sit there and someone will speak about, you know, this data or this classroom data or this classroom data, and I don't have the first clue what they're talking about. So it's really hard for me to buy into professional development. So that's why I put that question in here is, what can we offer to our staff to make sure that they're getting something that's relevant to them? And
Well-
maybe,
well,
again, you've answered that question.
You,
at the
I think,
beginning.
answered your own question right
Yeah.
now. When you talk about professional development, or you talk about class, or you talk about any type of instruction, whether it's to you or to my kindergarten students, if there is no interest, you're talking to the wall. It's what we do every day when I sit with these 5-year-olds. If they're not interested, it's pointless.
Right.
And one of the, I think, issues that we have with professional development, if it's not, much like students, if it's not teacher-driven, you're not going to get much of a buy-in. And if you think about Project Lead the Way, that was a teacher initiative. That was something sparked on by teachers. It wasn't something that necessarily administration came in and brought down and said, hey, look, this was something where teachers said, we're lacking in these departments. We need to implement certain things to bring us more up to the 21st century educational system. And so there's more buy-in. Now, granted, not everybody's bought into it,
Right.
but the people who want are willing to work for it. Now, when you have PDs like Marzano and things like that, they're obviously important for the school because that's what the school-wide
Right.
initiative is. However, the PDs need to be more applicable. And so if you're talking to kindergarten teachers at the same time you're talking to 5th grade teachers or 3rd grade teachers, you're not really talking to anybody then. Because kindergarten is not grasping exactly what you want out of it.
Yes.
The older grades aren't necessarily grasping. You, if anything, you're speaking to the middle ground, but even then it's so vague. When you want to have PDs like the ones you have, gym, music, they mean a lot to you because they're relevant. And so, like with the math that we loved last year, that was something that teachers too said, listen, we're struggling in math. But what made that so successful is, although it was the same exact presenter, is that she presented to each grade level. She spoke to everybody on their level. So she didn't come and introduce something about 3rd grade to the kindergarten teachers. And so we walked away really ready, knowing what we were going to do with that.
That's the lady you talked about earlier, right?
Shannon
Yes.
Kamalski. And so even though she did math with every single grade level, she broke it up. So let me take early childhood here, let me take the older elementary here, and this is what she did. So we got the same trainer,
Yeah.
same math, but different.
Differently.
Designed for your
Okay.
And so it
specific.
hit home.
And that's what
Needs.
needs to happen with all PDs.
All of them.
Personally, countless number of PDs that I have sitting in there, I'm thinking to myself, well, this doesn't apply to me. If it's about 3rd grade, that has nothing to do with me, especially kindergarten.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yes.
needs to be grade
Yes.
level. You know,
And now,
geared towards kindergarten.
obviously, the district PD days, you know, we have a little
Yeah.
control over. But so building wise, you know, if we have the ability then to drive that, well, like, obviously you guys are going to do that.
Yeah, and I do think the building PDs are more beneficial.
They are.
Like for last year, it was the
Especially
math.
this past year.
And then this, it'll be now the project lead the way. So they are, because we get to choose. It is more of what our school needs.
And I was just gonna say that I think came with the new administration.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna give credit to Sue for that. She took surveys. She said,
Yeah.
"What is it you want to do?" And what she did is she didn't just take every single teachers and said, "Okay, let's put them on." No, she took every grade level and she said, "Okay, this is kindergarten's looking for this, first grade's looking for this," and so she kind of separated for that, and she allowed for teachers, if you wanted to go off on your own, because I know we did that last year. We said, you know what? There's this great teacher in Ann Arbor. She's implementing
The
next
Northside
generation
Lane.
classroom. She's implementing the next generation. We want to go see what Apple TVs can do. That was completely separate of what anyone else in the building was doing. She signed off on it. We went and did it. And now this year she's like, oh, you want Apple TVs? Okay, you'll get them. And so she takes the grade level and she gives them what they need. And I honestly, I couldn't thank her enough for that, because for me, last year, PDs meant something. It did. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping this
Yeah.
year it'll mean something.
Yeah,
And I really enjoy the PDs when they're hands-on. Like, for example, when we did the math one, she gave it, not only did she provide us with the materials, but she also said, okay, here's some time to work on it too. Cut them out, laminate them. Here's some work time for you, because she knows that you don't have all this time
Once
to sit
you
there
leave,
and do it. Once you
it's going
leave,
in a file.
it's going to, exactly. But the fact that she gave us time to work on it and actually do it, it was hands-on. We got to
We
do
walked
it.
out using it.
We walked out right away. Your material was ready. It was easy, accessible. We had it. We could the next day. And that was part of her thing too. She said, I want you to try it. I want you to have this ready so that you can go tomorrow in your classroom and use it. And that's why it was so valuable. And even I think with the district PDs too, I think that they're trying to be better at it, because
They give choices.
they give
You
choices.
sign up now.
But then
enroll.
the problem comes if it's filled.
Right.
And then you get stuck in
But
being
it's
in a PD.
it's a start.
It's a start. It definitely is a start. And there are some, and I would like to see more, like, for example, like if our school is going to pilot grade book, then have a PD on it.
Sure,
If
right.
it's new, then we need to obviously be educated in it. So we do see it, like there is a shift, and it is
They're
constantly
they're
improving.
relinquishing more control for teacher
teachers.
choice.
Yeah.
And so that is happening. It's just slow and steady.
Just one thought about the math, and maybe the STEAM Expo could coincide with this. When my kids were in school, we had a bank. It looked like the lemonade stand.
Okay.
And kids could bring in, there was a lady there from the bank, and I think it was the Bank of Dearborn, which I don't think
I think
exists
they did this at
anymore.
Dearborn High for a minute.
Oh, Dearborn High. Oh,
They-
this
they
was
had, like, a
in
banking
Snow
system for a
Elementary.
minute.
This was at Snow Elementary. And the kids opened a savings account.
Yep.
And they gave them each $1 to start out with. And once a week, the bank was open, and the 4th grade kids were the bank tellers. And they actually put the amount of money that the kids gave them into their savings account. And it started kind of late. I think my son did it for just 2 or 3 years. I don't really remember. But he had saved all his birthday money and Christmas money. And he had over $500 put into that savings
Nice.
account. And the older kids were the tellers. I mean, the bank people were there making sure
Yeah.
that the kids were adding things correctly. But I don't know if we could do something that extensive, but
Yeah, it's a great idea.
yeah, if we could get to one of the banks or credit unions, then you're starting them early in life on saving.
It's a great
And
idea.
and we made a stand, just like the lemonade stand, and used that as the bank, was Snow Elementary Bank.
Yeah, the school I was at before did that. The credit union came in and they ran it. They took care of it.
Yeah.
It was really,
Nice.
it was really cool.
Yeah, so just a thought for the
It's a
math.
great thought.
Be a
We
good
could
job
get
for
someone
her.
to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Here to help.
Well, you'd have to have a teacher sponsor to, get it going.
What do you consider the degree of importance that professional development has in teacher growth? And I think you've kind of answered this too.
Yeah.
If it's
interesting,
helpful,
they'll
and-
grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's not, they won't, it'll just
So I'm not allowed.
marinate in sadness.
Yeah.
It'll die.
Marinate in sadness.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Eric, will you hit it,
Anytime.
please?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I'm up.